All right, so this is part 2. I'm hanging out with Clayton Tuttle. One thing I want to say about this rifle real quick before we go on to his 1911, this thing feels a lot more solid than my stock Howa 1500, and it's actually lighter. I would honestly prefer something like this over what I got from the factory. And the factory rifle is actually really nice, you know. So if you're looking for a good bolt gun, once Clayton's up for business, I'd go for one of these, especially if you're going to hunt, you know, and
right. I'll tell you something about the Howa. Now, a lot of guys like to spend money and throw a Timney trigger and things. Those are guys who are used to shooting an M700 that are actually having recalls for their trigger problems. This Howa trigger is clean. I would not. I handled it. I checked the trigger. I don't remember the poundage it was at, but it wasn't very high. It's actually got a really clean break. I really enjoy that trigger. I would not.
Same here. I like my Howa trigger too.
I wouldn't change that. All right, there's no need to change that trigger. They put some silicone on it from the factory, so you don't mess with it. And I didn't, because it runs just fine. I was, like I said, I was shooting really tight groups with it, and I like it. So if you have a Howa and you have a problem with your trigger, well, you can always peel the silicone off of it and adjust it, because it is an adjustable piece. You don't need a Timney on this gun.
Awesome, that's good information. No, I didn't even know that. It's awesome. Yeah, this is a great firearm right here. I love that. I love the Howa 1500s.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
And this is really just taking it to a whole new level.
I don't know about that. I just built a gun, but
hey, dude, this thing is sweet. I like it a lot. Oh, the other cool thing is you got it threaded up here for a suppressor.
So I threaded it for a suppressor. Put a cap on there. Now the gun is clear. We've already checked it. So if you want to check the muzzle out, one thing I did was I did an 11-degree target crown with the cap on it, because if I don't want to run a muzzle brake or run a suppressor, I don't have to. So this is basically having the cap on there and ready to take it to the field until I'm ready to put something on the end.
Very cool feature.
So there's my Howa.
That's awesome.
Now my favorite piece.
This thing is cool.
My 1911. I started out with a Rem Sport Manufacturing slide, frame, and barrel. It's all 45 ACP. I milled in the Novak sights front and rear, and I actually used some plain mill Novak sights that didn't have the dots in them. Now what I did was I chucked them in the mill, and I bored them holes, the front and the rear, and after I got everything finished, I painted them myself. I wanted some really nice sights, but I wanted to finish the sights with the gun, so I bought them that way. So I could do that. Another thing I did was this detail right here on most 1911s that kind of swoops down and stops short of the frame. So what I done was I chucked it in the mill, and I milled it back to where this line coming down matched the frame. I did that on both sides, gave it a nice clean look, and then I opened the ejection port cover by lowering it. I put it in the mill, lowered it 120 thousandths, and then I carved out a little detail in it with the mill.
Nice.
Another thing I did, I put a beaver tail on it. Now, anybody who's ever worked in 1911s knows there's two ways you could buy a beaver tail. One is the drop-in, and the other is what I got here, where I had to do a lot of custom fitting on the back end, both to the end of the frame and to the beaver tail itself. As you can see, it's nice and seamless there when I depress the backstrap safety. So it's nice and seamless, so you barely feel it when you're gripping the gun, and then when it's out, it's nice and seamless from here down. I polished this with all of the parts in it, so that it's not, you can see the parts, but they feel nice and seamless as you're going through. So it's nice, one big swoop from the slide all the way down to the tip of the beaver tail. I custom fit the grips to the magazine well extension, which I fit to the gun. Had to fit that in real nice and neat, and it worked real good. And I beveled the bottom of the frame to fit the mag well extension, so a mag goes in there real nice. And with the extension, I'm able to run an 8-round magazine without a fuss. Put on an extended safety. Put on, well, this is a factory style magazine catch, but it's all Wilson Combat parts. Everything fit real good. Got a Wilson Combat bushing on it. The bushing I fit purposely to be tight, I fit it tight so that the barrel would stay nice and true on the slide anyway. Because when you got a nice, true, solid, locked-in tight barrel, it makes it a little more accurate. So that plus the lockup back here, it's a nice, accurate piece. I was hitting paper out pretty close to 50 yards with it. As far as the finish goes, I polished all the flat surfaces to 400 grit, taped off the flat surfaces and blasted all the round surfaces, and then I hot caustic blued it. So that gave it a matte finish on the round piece and a nice shiny finish on the flats. And every part on this has been through hot caustic blue, except for the trigger, which is aluminum. I had to Cerakote that, and I Cerakoted that in a matte.
That thing's cool.
I did a nice trigger job on it. It's got an even 5 pounds. I could probably make it lighter if I adjusted the spring. Did not want to because I carry the gun. I wanted to make sure it was good and safe. I didn't want it to have any accidental discharges.
Okay.
Besides, on dry fire here, it is clear. It's got a really nice clean break on that trigger.
Yeah, I was shocked at that trigger. I was very unexpected that it was like that.
It measured out at 5 pounds, but it does not feel that way.
Doesn't feel like it at all. I barely pressed it and it went off. So.
And I got a 14-pound spring in there.
Okay.
On the 14-pound recoil spring, and I used a full-length guide rod. Keeps the spring from flexing and actually makes things sit a little bit straighter. Some guys say it's not necessary. It may not be, but I thought it was pretty cool. And then what I like to do when I let this go home, some guys will just push that magazine catch down. Well, the problem was when you do that, the magazine catch can grab a hold of the slide and it can, what they call, booger up that little indent in there for the magazine catch to ride on. So I just rack it back a little and let it go home.
Nice.
It takes the magazine catch out of its pocket and nothing touches it. So there's my 1911. Really nice piece of gear. Love the machine. By the way, all the internals are Wilson Combat except for my sear was Ed Brown. Everything on this thing is just nice and tight and perfect.
Yeah, that is one sweet pistol. Well, thank you very much, Clayton, for letting me take a video of your firearms here. Those of you who are watching, I'll keep you updated as to when Clayton's ready for business, to take orders and things like that. These are some really sweet firearms he's got here. He spent a lot of time on these, pays really good attention to detail. He's really taken these firearms to the next level, in my opinion.
They're not perfect. I want to reiterate that. I know they're not perfect. These were all learning experiences. I built all these in college.
They are still very nice. They're very nice firearms.
Anybody out there, somebody out there is gonna complain and has something bad to say about how they look, and I understand that. But I was a student. These were school guns. They're not perfect at all. But I'm very happy with the work I did because
you're off to a good start, man. These things look really good.
Thanks.
All right, well, everybody out there, thank you very much for tuning in. Semper Fi, and God bless.